time, we are going to introduce the speaker for today. But before that, the session is going to end in every 30 minutes. Okay, so when it ends, just tap on the link again and reconnect to join the session. Okay, so let's invite Mr. Savino to come and take over and take us through what he has for us today. Okay, so let's all stay tuned for him.
Hello everyone, can everyone hear me? Let me know in the comments if you. All right. Okay, so as Rich said, actually I'll switch to the video soon. As Rich said, my name is Savino Owiredu Mensah, and I'm a student at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and I'm reading Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. Hello, I hope you can see me now. Rich, can you please unmute yourself and then kindly respond to me like by voice?
Mr. Savino, we can see you and hear you too, so you can go.
Okay. Okay, so let's wait. Let's wait for Rich to share the screen. All right. So the topic is the need to scale up in the field of technology. Can you please go to the next slide for me? Okay. So at the end of this session, my key objective is to inspire you. I want to awaken the spirit in whoever is listening to me. I want to ginger you up. I want to I'm not a motivational speaker, but I want to create that sense of eagerness in you to be willing to do something. And that at the end of this whole session, this RTyoungStars program, for the sake of my time, pardon me, I might have to speak a bit faster for this. And then after this RTyoungStars program, like you'll be willing and then eager to do something. So at the end, I would like you to know something about paradigms and then reconsideration of your paradigm. And then I would also want to get you informed about some major historical developments and their impacts on the world. And then I'd like to develop your interest in history. Yes, history is very important. I don't know if I have some general arts guys here, but history, they don't really like history. It's plenty, but it's very important. Okay. And then inspire you. Okay. And then get you, all right. And then inspire confidence and hope in you that we can. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. All right, so before I start, one thing I want you to note is that there's a difference between technology and then information technology. I just want you to get it right. So that's the outline. And then we move on to what I was talking about paradigms, so making the world a better place. And then we look at the status quo, and we look at some history of economic terms, history and industrial revolutions, and then tech development. I'm just touching on them. Like we go into details in them. Okay, so let's move on since we don't have much time. Now I have to speed up a bit. Okay, so technology is a very general term. There's technology. I mean, when we were in JHS, we were learning technology. Science is the application. Science is the method of observation, experimentation, blah blah blah. Then we go and write exams. It was just recently that I realized that, man, that statement, that combination of words had a certain meaning to it. But then I don't know how many of us were able to realize that. So technology is after gaining knowledge with science. Whatever you do with the knowledge is technology. But then mostly when we talk about tech, what comes into mind is digital tech, IT, computers, but that's not only tech. Car is technology. Drugs are technology. There are a lot of technology. So I want you to note that. But then I might, throughout the presentation, if I say tech, since we are RTyoungStars, I will be referring to robotics. Yeah, the use of robotics and computers. Okay, so there are different forms of technologies and their applications. So, and then the applications. So there are nanotechnology, other forms of technology. So just like nanotechnology, nanotechnology is like you can research about that later, but now it's like the making of materials at the molecular level. So instead of mixing, let's say you are making a drug, we are making sodium chloride, which is table salt. So at the elementary level, you get sodium and then you get chloride you can add. But then at the molecular level, what can you do with the individual molecules that make up? It's a very interesting field. So there are different forms of technology, and then information technology is one part, just one part. So as we are talking about technology in Africa, we are not only talking about computers, building softwares, building robots. You might have interest in that, but then there are other forms of technology that you can use to impact the society around you. Right? Since you don't have much time, I think you'd have to do some quite a little research after this presentation. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so status quo and the history of economics. Now we are all concerned about Africa. Can you go back? It seems. Yep, yep. I realized I skipped this. Okay, so now there's a paradigm, what we call paradigm. Paradigm is like a map, how you navigate, I mean, your way in the world. So people believe in, people are atheists. They have a paradigm that, real, just come live your life and then you die and go. Some people also have a paradigm of, some patients don't have the view of the world and also live their life. But then there's one thing that is common to all of these paradigms. Really, that's your description of paradigm itself. There's one short, please, if you okay, I'll try as much as possible to leave some time for a few questions before I end the presentation. There's one thing that is common to all these paradigms. Realize that in all these paradigms, nobody wants to be happy, right? Whatever your paradigm is, you want to be able to get a good house. You need access to electricity. You need good food. You see that? So whatever our paradigms are, we all want to make the world a better place. And then when you, I don't know if you, when you watch these movies of the West, American movies, British movies, you hear them say, "Oh, together, let's make the world a better place to be. Let's make the world a better place to be." I don't usually hear that often in our part of the world, although I do hear. And I think that is a very important paradigm that we should all hold. That no matter what, we should try to make our world a better place than it was yesterday. We should be geared towards improving the lives in our region of the world. So okay, so I think that I'll touch on the last 2 points on the next slide. So let's go continue. Okay, so far we've talked about technology and what it really means, and then when I say tech, what I'll be referring to throughout this presentation. And then we've also talked about paradigms. Okay, so now we all want to make the world a better place to be. I mean, that's the light of it. Like television using computers. But then what is the status quo? What is the status quo? Status quo just means the current condition. I mean, what's happening around that, the current condition. That's the meaning of status quo. So status quo, you see that the polar worldwide standard of living. Took a like you remember like polarity when there's sharing or when you have to consider that polarity. So for example, when you Ghana, like the development is in certain places, it's not uniform. You get access to but some don't get. So it's that there's unequal go to Nabucco and then you don't get internet connection, there's polarity. But on the worldwide scale, realize that Africa is lacking. Europe, America, and then a whole lot of places, see that they are advanced. There are certain things that they were using them in 50 years before it came to us for certain stuff. So there's some there are four standards of living in Africa. Africa has positive sides and then negative sides. And then we shouldn't always be talking about the negatives. But then what happens is that the negative kind of outweighs the positive. We have beautiful environments, tourist sites, attraction, but then there are four standards of living in Africa. I won't be going into the details. I'll use a couple of economic terms to be talking about standards of living. I really love economics. So I'd like you, when you get time, be reading more about economics, and you'll be blown away, Charlie. Like your mind, you just try it. Okay. All right. So the economic terms I'll be using HDI, which means Human Development Index. I'll be centering much on that. And then GDP, before per capita income, before GDP. I don't know whether most of us have heard about HDI, but that's what I'll be centering on. Okay, so now, as I said, what do I standards of the how come some are better than us? Is it that when I mean us, I'm talking about Africa. How come Europe is doing good? In this HDI, in this GDP per capita income, Europe is doing good, America is doing good. All human beings. We are the same people. We are all saying we have the same you can transfer the black person into a white person. The person will work. We are equal. But then why is this polarity? What is it? Is because they keep like that made us so like our conditions poor. I mean, the poor conditions like diarrhea, polio. I mean, we are unable to solve major health issues. People, human beings, and animals drinking the same river body, like drinking from the same river bodies. That's what I'm talking about. So it's because they came to colonize us. Partly it can be true, but then you realize that before the Europeans came, we were suffering from diarrhea. We were going to the toilet. I mean, in the stuff, which are, at the end are the causes of major diseases. We are drinking the same bodies, river water from. We're drinking the same water. Our sources of water and then the source of water for our animals were kind of the same. So it looks like colonization plays a role, but it doesn't play much, like a very big significant role, because we were better off prior to colonization and before colonization. We were better off, but at least although we were getting food to eat, family socialization, that was good. But since we want to always improve, I mean, there's a need for change. So we can't blame colonization. So there's a certain perspective that I want you to have after this presentation. So mind you, then I'll talk about that perspective. But then what I want you to I want you to take note of the HDI, the GDP per capita income, since I'll be using that to talk about the standards of living. I'm thinking of the water we are drinking, the education. I'll just be using this. So can we move on to the slide? The slides are quite plenty, but it's not that much. Let's move on to oh shit. So actually I'll be making use of Wikipedia. I mean, Wikipedia documents, they are sometimes bulky. They are too plenty, but then when you take your time to do stuff, your eyes will be open. Bros, ladies and gentlemen, be reading more. Wikipedia, go to Wikipedia. Probably you're even reading more than me, but let me just, for the sake of mentioning, okay. All right, so since we can't read, I'd like you to zoom in a bit if you can. I mean, zoom just to the previous slide, but then if you can zoom in. so that it's more legible for us to read. All right, now Human Development Index. I'm reading Human Development Index. Well, for the sake of interaction, can I get somebody who would read for me? If you want to read, just unmute yourself and read. With the exception more.
Main
Exception
article.
of Rich. Please.
Human Development Index 2022 report. The Human Development Report.
Who is reading? Should I mention names? Just unmute yourself and read. Okay, since nobody wants to read, let me read myself. Okay, but just pay attention. Now, the Human Development Report 2022 by the United Nations Development Program was released on 8th September 2022 and calculates HDI values based on data collected in 2021. So this data, like I'm trying to use some data for us, like I want us to analyze some data. This was just data collected in just 2021. Okay, so now the United Nations, I mean the World Health Organizations and stuff, they set some of these standards. I mean, okay, so there's something called Human Development Index. So it's an indicator of the standards of living. It's an indicator of the standards of living in particular countries in the world. So since I'm not I'm at the values look between 0 and 1. So I don't know whether it's between 0 and 1. So I'm assuming it's between 0 and 1. Since all the countries I saw 1, none of them had 0. It was 0 0.0, 0 0.1, 0.5. The development index in these countries. Please, I hope you are all on the same page. I hope nobody is lost. It's quite bulky, but let's try. The following slides, I'll just be skipping through. Then I believe you'd get time to read through after this presentation. Okay, so Rich, can we zoom in again? So the Human Development Index of Ghana is different from that of Nigeria. So that indicates the standards of living in Ghana and then the standards of living in other countries. So if you have a low Human Development Index, that means that the standard of living of your people are poor. You get it, that's the indicator. I don't want to go into the specifics. I just want you to general term. Okay, so Rich, let's please zoom in. All right, a bit to the left, so that I can see the left side. Zoom in a bit to the left if you can scroll a bit to the left. Okay, so you see that the table, the first column, there is the rank. Now, 2021 data collected. Okay, this is your rank in the world. So this is the rank in the world. Now, the first country is Switzerland. They are the first country with the highest Human Development Index. So that means that they have the highest standards of living. And by standards of living, the education, the water we drink, I mean, you are getting 3 square meals a day. So their human development, when you get to the right side, you see that there's HDI on the table, the right side of the table. So it's 0.962. 0.962 for Switzerland, the highest country. And then from 2010, the next column, from 2010 to 2021, it has increased by 0.19%. You see that the next country, Norway, 0.9, Iceland, 0.9, Hong Kong, 0.9. You see that in the world, Switzerland is first, Norway second, Scotland third, Holland, Hong Kong fourth. Let's move on to the next slide. There's a pattern I want to show you here. Let's move on to the next slide. Because you see Switzerland is first, Finland, Norway, Hong Kong. Okay, I'll be showing you something. And then their HDI, notice their HDI is 0.96. So the highest country has 0.96. I don't know why it's not up to 1. So I'm assuming it's between 0 and 1 because I didn't see negative when I was going to the left. And let's zoom in as we did in the previous slide. Looks like we have just 20 minutes more. Oh my God. But still, what we can do. Let's zoom in like we did. All right. So the next country is Singapore. Singapore, Belgium. Human Development Index of Singapore 0.93. Belgium and since they are the same, they have 0.93709. Canada 0.9. Then I'm just skipping some. Japan, South Korea, United States 0.9. Israel, wow, Israel, nice, 0.9. Okay, so you see that all these countries, which of these countries is in Africa? Look at United Arab Emirates is also there, Spain. And then you see that when you look at the last column where the green arrows are pointing upwards, green up. You see that they've been increasing. So from 2010 to 2021, they've been increasing. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, thank you very much. So so I'm continuing now. Now what I was talking about, you realize that none of them is an African country. And then they from 2010, they've been increasing. So that's a rank. So you see that there's a long list. So they've ranked them from first to the 190 something country, 90th country. And the last country is Sudan, which is in Africa. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. And then let's zoom in. Okay. So these countries are all still not in Africa. All still not in Africa. And then you can see the green greens moving up. Now look at their HDI, Human Development Index, 0.8, 0.8. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. I think after here, you'd have to look through them. Let's skip to the next slide. Yep. Now these are the African countries. So let's look at Human Development Index, the leading African country. I even thought it was Ghana or even Rwanda, but it's not. So let's see the first country and then the rank of the first country in the world. Let's zoom in. Wow. Okay, to the left. Okay, so now to the left, the first column is your rank in Africa. The second column, column is the streets. Then count from the boxes vertically. Okay, so in your rank in the region, which is Africa, Mauritius is first. The first country in Africa. Look at their HDI, 0.7, 0.8. Oh, I think that's cool. Wow, nice. So they are the very high. You see that they've written very high human development. Mauritius, and in the world they are 64th. In the world they are 64th, 64. Ayo. HDI is 0. That's a very high. So the only country with very high HDI in Africa is Mauritius. Just one. Now let's come to high HDI. The next one, Seychelles, Algeria. Wow, 0.7. In the world, the second in Africa is 72nd. The third in Africa is 91st. 91st in the world, but he's the third, which is Algeria, and their HDI is 0.7, which is quite encouraging though. Gabon, South Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. Okay. Now I might stay quite long on this slide. Okay, so let's zoom. Okay, so now this medium, and the medium, realize Ghana our HDI is 0.6. So between 0 and 1, our HDI is 0.6. Quite encouraging though, but still, when you get on grounds, what you experience is not easy. Botswana, I mean, Ghana is in the world, we are 133. And in Africa, we are 12. Morocco, okay. Okay, so the medium 0.6, 0.5. Then let's move on to the next slide. I don't have to waste much time on this because now let's get to the lower HDI. Zoom in. So you see that majority of these countries are in lower 0.5, 0.4, 0.4. Although when you look at the green arrow, there has been some increase, but even after the increase, we are still at some majority of us are 0.4. Let's move on to the next slide then. Okay, let's skip the tables. Let's skip this slide and move on. Okay, so now you realize that the polarity I was talking about, you see, I was talking about the status quo. And you see that much of the development is not in Africa. So there's unequal distribution in the world. Much of them are in Europe, Asia, America, North America. I mean, what are we doing in Africa here? So the question then arises, as I was saying, is it colonization? Then no, it's not colonization. And I demonstrated it to you earlier. Like colonization plays a role, but it's not only colonization. So I want us to take a look at the history of these countries and see how come they've been to where they are and why we are still where we are. If you get what I'm trying to say. So I'll try to rush faster here. Okay. So now I'm starting with a quote by Winston Churchill. It says, to know what will happen in 50 years' time, look back to 50 years before present. So history has a lot of insight. That's why I kind of like history. I'm a science person, but I do read some history stuff. You see, so there's reading has, a power. It's not only reading, watching videos. I mean, I read, but not that much. I go on YouTube and then audiobooks. No, being audiobooks, but I don't read audiobooks much. But then I just watch the videos and get my knowledge. Okay. So, and then I want to say this. I mean, we are using Wikipedia. We'll be using Wikipedia articles throughout this presentation because those table I got them from Wikipedia. Okay. Now Wikipedia is the world's center of knowledge. Charlie, let's be reading from there, please. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So I'll be starting with the Neolithic Revolution. Now, when you go in history, you realize that these countries I'm talking about, there were some major revolutions in their history, which had a very high economic impact, which development of their countries. But what happened is that Africa, we don't have a history of that revolution. In Africa, here, we didn't see China happening. We didn't fought and doing stuff, fighting. Some people were, having some revolutions that changed, make the economies, change the standards of living of the people. The Neolithic Revolution highlighted some important parts, but then since we don't have time, let me just summarize what this is about. The Neolithic Revolution looks like the earliest development of human beings. Human beings, then we didn't get to where we are right now. I mean, some people believe in evolution from apes to humans. Some people also believe in creation, but then we are not going there. But then after some time, after the source, human beings were hunters and gatherers. We just wandering around, no farming. We just go and hunt with our arrows and stuff. Even those times, arrows weren't up. So those like low class humans hunting. Those are the times where you were using stones and stuff to make. We weren't even cooking, eating fruit stuff. Right? So the Neolithic Revolution marks a point where human beings started. There was a switch that some discoveries were made, like fire and stuff. The human beings started making small tools, started using rocks to be cutting and stuff. That's See that there's a change. So that means that there's and then the Neolithic Revolution is the time when human beings started domesticating animals. These are animals when domesticated. We have sheep, goats, pigs, cocks, chicken that we've been eating, chicken, poultry farms and stuff. It was during these times that human beings started doing those things. Human beings started organized farming. Because at first we were just wondering, you get something that you can eat. But now this was the revolution. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next slide. So you see that there was a very significant change, significant impact. Let's move on to the next. Significant impact in the life. When you read, you get time, just read, you see. So after this revolution, there was a very significant impact in their life. Let's zoom in slides. Just at the right, those are the tools that we started making. Also, we started making tools and stuff for our living. Let's look at the upper right. Zoom into the upper right, the one I've highlighted in red. See that X was full to it. Next slide, please. So the first industrial revolution. We've talked about the Neolithic Revolution. Then the first industrial revolution, I believe many of you have heard. It took place in majorly like the British, European countries. That was the first industrial revolution. We know revolution like a turnaround. Okay. Let's kindly zoom in. Then let me quickly read the parts that I've highlighted in red. And let's see. Okay, so the Industrial Revolution marked a major turning point in history. You see that? It marked a major turning point in history, comparable to humanity's adoption of okay. Well, let's come to the comparable only to humanity's adoption of agriculture and advanced material advancements. The Industrial Revolution influenced in some way almost every aspect of everyday life. So it influenced our life. Now let's see. In particular, average income. You see that average income and population began to exhibit unprecedented growth. You see the growth I'm talking about? Now you see the importance of history. Let's come to the third line of that thing what I've highlighted. It says some economists in the middle. In the middle, you see some economists have, whether you can see, right, the third line in the middle. There's some economists have said the most important effect of the can you move to the left side of the Industrial Revolution was that the standards of living for the general population in the Western world. Okay, in the Western world, let's right, began to increase consistently. You get the idea. You can read more since you don't have much time. Let's move on to the next slide. So the Industrial Revolution, you see the Neolithic Revolution, we started making tools. Now in the Industrial Revolution, that was when human beings we started using coal. We started using some energy sources. We started making engines, steam engines. If you've heard of steam engines, we started using trains and stuff. So that article on the first industrial revolution, let's zoom in and then let's look at the contents. I want to point something out to you in the content. of that article. So in the contents of the article, it talks about important technological development. So the whole idea of the Industrial Revolution was about technological development. Now, as I was talking earlier, you see why I talked about IT and technology not being the same. So these technological development went in IT, they were in agriculture, health, other stuff. I mean, not computers weren't even there, so there were other technological development. That's what I'm talking about there. So you see that the iron industry, iron rods and stuff that we've been using. You see the time, I mean, there's the date. I think it was in the 19th or 16th or so. You can check it there, but let's not go there. So that they started using steam power, machine tools, chemicals, cement, gas. Okay, let's have it zoom in. Let's look at the countries that part in this resolution. Okay. Okay, let's zoom in and let's see the red part now. Okay. I think these are just the developments that have. So let's move on to the textiles, steam power. Let's go to the next slide. Where you have after this presentation. Let's just go to the next slide. So the second industrial revolution. So this you see that there was a first industrial revolution. Now I know these revolutions, Africa wasn't part. Africa. So for the sake of time, I would like us to skip the second industrial revolution. So you see that there's an image of a telegraph machine. That's a telegraph machine. That's the first machine that was used to send messages. So there's a telegraph machine here. There's a telegraph machine at another place. It's just like you're sending an email at the post office. You are sending a mail at the post office. You do everything here, and then the receiver would get it at where they are. I mean, it was fun. You see, that was when the second revolution, that was when they started developing ships and stuff. So the industrial revolution took place mainly in America. So the first industrial revolution, the first one, happened in Britain, but then there were some European countries. And then at that time, China and other countries were also had their developments. Now this was when they started using these machines. Let's move on to the next slide. This was when computers started coming into the second revolution. So you remember the internet. This was the time. Okay, the computers. These were developed by American Army. Okay, let's zoom into the red part. I want to show you something small from there. Let's zoom into them. So you see that socio-economic impact. That's this I want to. And you see that there's a whole bunch of text under that topic. So the second industrial revolution had major socio-economic impact, in their social life and in their economics. How can you have good social life if you don't have, food and then other stuff, basic stuff, Maslow's theory of needs? So if there's an impact in the social life, then that means there has been an impact in their what do you call it? Their basic needs. So I'll leave that one to you to read. So I've shown, let's move on to the next slide. So I've shown you where we started, human beings, Neolithic Revolution. We started improving. First industrial revolution, Britain, Europe, they started improving. Second, America, at that time, China and other Australia were also developing. But then the major Okay. Now the third industrial revolution was when we started computers. So this a computer. I mean, the first advertisement of a computer. This was the image there was the image they used. So the third industrial revolution took place. Let's quite zoom into the red side. Yes, let me read something small from there. I mean, I may not be able to go deep, but then at the end, I know that you have the slides and then you'll be able to read through.
Mr. Savino, a quick update. You have about 5 minutes more, so please take note of that. The time isn't favoring us at all. But then, yeah, you have 5 minutes more. So wrap up with your presentation and let's move on.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now it says the third industrial revolution with the adoption of digital record keeping. So this was when we started introducing computers. I mean, we started mass production. You see that the blues, communication technologies, transistors, integrated circuits, computers, cellular phones, and the internet. You see, so this also had very important impacts. All of these were, so because of time, I'll skip the fourth industrial revolution, but let me talk something small. So now we are in the era, currently in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution is where we are using automation, robotics. We haven't read it, so let's move on. You see that robotics, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and those stuff. That so currently we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So that means that it's going to have a major economic impact in our lives. So if in the first revolution we didn't take part, in the second revolution we didn't take part, third revolution we didn't take part, we are in the fourth revolution and Africa has to take part. So I'm talking about the need to scale up in the field of technology. So we are behind. Look at our HDI, Human Development Index, we are behind. And this is the time for us to also scale up. So if we can be able to scale up in our human lives, like we can get better conditions. I mean, we need these revolutions because I've shown you that there's a correlation between revolutions and improved standard conditions. When there are revolutions, human life increases, like better condition of human life increases. So in this fourth industrial revolution, I want us all to put in our best. Sorry, let's be ginger because we are down. We are down. And then let's try as much as possible. I mean, let's learn more and scale up because it's only technology that can help us. It's only technology that can have the major economic impact. Because when you look at those developed countries, it was just technology. And I don't mean IT, I mean the other technologies that help them. But now IT is more dominant. So we can use IT, but we should concentrate on the other forms of technology. For the sake of time, let's move on to the next slide. I'll have to be fast. Okay, fourth industrial revolution. Next. So I've talked about it. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, those stuff. Internet of Things. You see, the car in that image was a self-driving car. Robots, automated stuff. You see that. So this was a video. I took a screenshot of my. I actually left it like this so that you can see my source of information. That this is due to. I'm not getting it from any place. I didn't. You see, our history was good. Just YouTube, that we all be using. Just I left it like this so that you can see my source of information. Now, when you read what is there, it says Jeremy Rifkin's. I think he's one of the major economists. He says that the industrial revolutions are characterized by what we call the three main internets. That's communications, energy, transportation, and logistics. So we need an improvement in our communications, move an improvement in energy, in our energy sector. I mean, electricity and other forms of energy, and then transportation and logistics. So that means that if this is what characterized the revolutions, that means that in this revolution, this will also characterize it. So we need massive improvement in these areas if we want to catch up. Because the amount where they've been to, they haven't been there. So you have to scale up. So the point is scaling up. Okay, they need to scale up. So let's move on. But there's something important I want to cover Okay, so this were tech developments outside Africa. Actually, I couldn't complete the slides because of time. So there are some technological developments outside Africa I wanted to touch on in this fourth industrial revolution. So here are a couple of them. Let me just mention them fast stuff. Robo Boston Dynamics. Boston Dynamics, there are a lot of technological developments. Boston Dynamics, go online and search Boston Dynamics. You find a lot. Robots kitchens, robot deliveries, I mean, a whole lot of stuff. Okay, all right. Now, the extra stuff I want to add is that we have to work on our reading. In our reading skills. Reading is a skill. So I made some point that reading is a skill that can be learned. Reading is a communication. Reading is a form of communication. Now, when you are reading, you are listening. So when you are reading a book, you are communicating with the author of the book. It's like the author is speaking to you and you are listening. So you should have, it's like a conversation. You should train your listening skill. So let's look at reading from that point. And then reading is a conversation. You read what the author tells you, the author of the book, the writer tells you, and then you think about it. Okay, so this is why this is this is why this is that. Okay, so now few reading tips that I have. When you are reading outline, there's a guy on YouTube called Justin Sang. Justin Sang. If you have pen and paper, you can write it. I'll type it in the chat. Justin Sang. I'll type it in the chat so that you check him on YouTube. You get a lot of insights about.
Okay, so Mr. Savino.
So, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think I'll end it here. And I believe I've been able to make an impact. Thank you very much.
We thank you, Mr. Savino. Thank you very much for your time today. You've actually impacted knowledge into us. Basically, me personally, I've learned a whole lot from this particular session. And what I learned was that, you know, Africa didn't take part in most of the revolutions. But now that we are in the fourth revolution, where we have AI, robotics, you know, most technologies coming up, Africa shouldn't stand by. Africa should also take part in this, you know, revolution. So without wasting much time, I'll leave the attendance link inside so I can see some 2 participants still with us. I would like you to fill the forms as soon as possible when I put it in the chat. I'm going to put it in this chat because I don't want, you know, anyone outside the meeting to get access to it, okay? So I'm putting it in the chat and fill it as soon as possible, okay? It will be inactive in 10 minutes time, okay? So that is it. I think you should have it in the chat now, okay? So if you don't have it and you are with us, let me know so that I forward it to you. So it's in the chat now, okay? So for today's sessions, this will be the attendance we are taking, okay? And we still have one more speaker who will be taking us through, or, you know, explaining further what Mr. Savino have already said. He will be very short and quick because Mr. Savino has said it all. So you just have to stay tuned for that. The link will be posted in the group and you can join that one too as well. And mind you, will be taking attendance for that too. And yeah, so that is it for today. I mean, today's first session, which is Mr. Savino's session. We will be starting the next session in 10 minutes time. Okay, so stay tuned and be active in the group as well. Thank you all for joining.